You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we're back with episode 3.
It is good to be back. There's a lot of stuff to cover in episode 2, and we've got a lot of stuff in 3 as well. Before we get to it, how's it been running for you? How'd you do this week?
Well, remember I ended up playing in that Monster Stack tournament on, I believe it was Friday. So I showed how they make those guarantees possible.
Way to contribute to the payroll there.
Yeah, I ended up playing a hand in that tournament when I had King 10 and flop 2 pair on I believe it was a Ace King 10 flop with a flush draw, and then I ended up, I guess you and I had talked about the hand earlier in the week, where I guess I probably sized up too much to get called by a flush draw, and I ended up it was a brick turn and brick river, and I bet the whole way down, and he ended up flopping the nuts with the queen jack. So that took a huge hit in my stack very early in the tournament.
Yeah, well, you don't play a ton of tournaments anyway, so you're kind of out of your comfort level when it comes to tournaments. But I mean, that being said, if you flop 2 pair to the nuts, I mean, could you have limited your losses maybe a little bit? But at the same token, you're gonna take a huge chunk. I mean, that is what it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I bet. I bet the flop, bet the turn, and I was in position. And when the front door flush missed, he let out big. And I was thinking that's exactly what I would do if I had missed a flush draw. I would bet big, and or a pair with missed flush draw, something like that. And he did, and I just snap called because I was thinking that's exactly how I would play a missed draw, a missed flush draw. So,
I mean, it could have been like an ace with a gut shot. There's a lot of things it could have been where you might be ahead there. So I can definitely understand the call. It's, like I say, if you flop really good against two pair against a straight, there's not a lot that's going to happen. But what do you think about the tournaments in general?
It was a really cool environment. There was a ton of tables there, and people were there a lot of people showed up on time. You'll see it a lot of times people show up late or get blinded out. Seemed like everyone showed up on time, ready to play. One guy he made the final table, but he was playing one of the satellites that started an hour before the tournament, and was getting blinded out on our table. He was running back and forth across the room.
That is not the first time I've seen that. I saw that in one of 52 Socials tournaments as well. I don't know. You got to be a straight degenerate to be running back and forth between tables. Maybe they're used to online poker, and one table is not enough. I don't know.
Well, he won the seat in the satellite and made the final table in the Monster Stack. So
I never said he was a bad playing degenerate. Just said he was a degenerate. That's really awesome. I'm glad you got to do one. This series did not work out well for me. Just getting to play. Just getting the time off and all of that. So,
let me before we move on to some of your hands from this week. The winner of that tournament was Mark Cortez, who ended up coming in first place in the Monster Stack for $10,010. So just a shout out to him.
Yeah, he played very well. I was watching the live stream of that game, and he did really well. He offered, and he seemed to be a pretty cool guy because he offered a chop that the guy didn't accept, but it was way too fair. I mean, he gave that guy way more money than I would have, and the guy ended up not agreeing, and he just took it down, I believe. But it seemed he was playing very well, and I think he seemed to be a good guy just from the way he was handling the chop.
Oh, and I guess also shout out to Jason Fitzpatrick, who won the surprise bounty tournament this week. So the $600 buy-in.
That was a real interesting.
And his first place was for $13,518.
That's a pretty big score. I mean, I don't know if that includes the bounties too, because he collected quite a few of those. Getting to that far. So I tell you what, I was super impressed by Champions live stream. It looks so good. I'm hoping it stays. I don't know if it's a poker. Was it set up by Poker Go or by Champions and Poker Go's just covering it? But I've just been so thrilled with their live stream. It looks really good. I wish they were a little more on point with their schedule. I was actually looking for the $1 million guarantee last night and could not find it. I don't know if I was looking at the wrong place or I didn't see it on Twitch or anything like that. So I haven't looked tonight, but the schedule could be a little more on point, but the actual coverage has been really good.
I agree. Remember when we were at work, we were just looking through, and they had one of them up, but it was live in 2.5 days.
Yeah. Well, I looked back at 2.5 days and did not see it. But like I say, really good job. And man, if it goes on and does like a cash game after all this is over, I could see them doing so very well with it. It would be the best one in Houston that I know of.
By far, I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, that was like I say, I hoped I would have liked to done a couple more of those tournaments, but sometimes it doesn't work out. But I'm looking forward to the Prime Summer series at some point.
I guess I kind of cut you off there. So what were you getting into about how it was going this week for you?
Finally did really good. I've been on the tail end of a massive downswing, as you know. Right. One of those. I'm on like a 2.5 week stretch where no hands have held up, so I was able to break out of it, and nothing crazy, but up about $1,000 in the last couple days. Which there's a certain point where if you're in a massive downswing, if you come out of a session up $50, it's just good to see green at that point. So beggars can't be choosy. I've now had 3 winning sessions in a row, and I've made a little bit of what I lost up, so I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty cool. Yeah, now I'm gonna lead into this with it. I did one. Had a really good session, a decent session at Paramount, and a decent session at a new poker room that's opening up in College Station. So, and as you know, I lived right outside College Station, and it is not a lot of poker rooms. It has not boomed like it has been in Houston. There's one kind of official one, and the second one is opening up this week on Friday. They will have their grand opening, and it will be free time. You get to play for free on Friday, and the way I understand it, it is every single Friday that you will not pay for time. It is Central Texas Poker. So that will be the name of it. They are located in Bryan, most people know it as Bryan College Station. They are in the Bryan part, right next to a Planet Fitness. So I've been to the room. I think they're still getting it set up. And it's nice. I mean, there's not the competition in College Station that there is in Houston. So when you go, don't expect Prime or Champions or 52 Social, but it is going to be a very nice room for for that area.
So the main place in College Station right now is BCS. That's the one that you normally play at?
BCS, and that is also a really good room. I do think we need a second room, though, because BCS is only open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And only from 7:30 on is there a game.
And, like, for people like me and you, Monday and Tuesday are some of the best days for us with our work schedule to play poker. So them being closed and the other room being open is just huge for you, just schedule-wise.
Oh, yeah. It gives me a lot more flexibility, so I'm very happy that poker's getting bigger in College Station, and I think this is going to be a really good market for it. I think it's going to get a lot of action. They will be open, as far as I heard, Monday through Saturday, and they'll be open during the daytime too. Now, around that area, I don't know if they're going to get a lot of action during the day games. I don't know. But it's nice to see it's always nice to have more options. More competition's always better for the player.
Both of those rooms are 1-3 rooms, is that correct? Or do they have 1-2 games?
They are running 1-3. A lot of so BCS their normal game is 1-3, and then they have a reverse button with a U. The dealer calls it. So yeah, a lot of times they play a lot of 5-5 high low, 5-5 PLO high, 5-5 Congress, which is high low with 5 cards. It even does a lot of pineapple.
Right, because I've never played in either of those rooms. Definitely not the one that's opening up. But I've never played in either one. But it just seems very strange that they have a 5-5 going on in a 1-3 game. Is that game really deep stacked to facilitate such a stake?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You know what? We and you were talking about it during the downswing, and I was kind of going over hands and seeing when you're in the middle of it. It's sometimes hard to judge if you're playing badly or if you're just running badly. At first, usually you can kind of judge it, but as it gets deeper into it, you're just it all kind of mixes together. And usually there's a point where if you're on tilt, it's a combination of both, and it's just a percentage of which. And I mentioned that 5-5, and you're like, man, for your bankroll, that 5-5 is not good. Now, it as weird as it is, I never thought of it until you mentioned it. Because when you're just playing it, you're just, okay, it's $5 out there. And I really hadn't given it that much thought as into my bankroll. But that just kind of is the game. I don't know. Yeah, I get the feeling someone suggested it, and that's just kind of ran with it.
Right, well, once you told me it was 5-5, I was thinking this game either has to be super deep stacked or people are going all in they play 9-handed once every 9 hands.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing is 5-5, it's not as bad if it's high-low because there's a lot of split pots. So it's not as hard on the table as if it was PLO high. So there is that factor going on. But it does kind of break the table a lot, and it does create deeper stacks because people are buying in again. So it does create deeper stacks, and it can play deep stack. But if you're asking me if the average stack on most nights is probably about 500, which would not facilitate a 5-5 PLO game.
Right, not even in the ballpark.
So this other one, I don't know. I mean, we were doing 1-3 when I was there that night, and then it was, instead of a reverse button, it was every 30 minutes. We were doing a game like that, and it was 5-5, and I don't know. I think that game is they're still going to kind of figure it out. That room just opened, so we're going to kind of see what games they run.
Probably a good mix, though, too. Like you said, it's a lot of the same players, so maybe they're just doing it because that's how they do it the other place. But hopefully someone will suggest maybe bumping the stakes down to 1-3 instead of everyone going all in at 5-5 PLO.
I think there's a lot of kind of gambly type players who just don't care. So, because when I mentioned that the 5-5 didn't match with the stack sizes, they have a really good dealer. The dealer actually is a floor man at Prime, and he was like, that makes a lot of sense, and he was kind of for it because they were talking about doing a round of each, and I was like, I'm not doing a round of each at 5-5 when our average stack is $400 on this table. But then I was like, if it's once every round, then I don't care. But that being said, most likely I'm just really happy to get another room in that area and just to see poker grow in the state of Texas in general.
I'm just so surprised that in College Station they're not marketing a lot of college students with like free rolls 1-2 games. Is that just not the case, or there just doesn't seem much interest in the college students? Or
it's the most shocking thing ever. I don't know. I mean, I would think with the college students around College Station, I will see a lot of them come in the room and a lot of them not come back. And I think if you marketed it right, like a 1-2, I think a 1-2 would go over real good there. And like you mentioned, like free rolls and stuff like that. I think this could be marketed to where it becomes huge. I don't know why the stakes are so high for a town where for a lot of times, you have college kids who probably do not have that type of money to just, especially ones that are kind of learning the game, to be gambling that way. I think like a 1-2 game with a bunch of free rolls and tournaments. I think if a poker room followed the exact way Paramount does it, that it just blows up in that town.
Are the rooms that are currently there? Could they? Do they have enough tables to do like a big free roll like that, or is it just a one table in a room situation?
So BCS has 3 tables. This one, I think I saw 3 tables, but it might have been more. They have room for another couple tables as well. So they could probably. The room, once you get inside, the closest I can compare it to is maybe Empire, which Empire does host some pretty big tournaments.
Well, they have a ton of tables to host it. I was just wondering if they just didn't have the tables in the rooms.
I don't know. They haven't shown that much of an interest. BCS never showed that much of an interest in tournaments.
I was about to say, have they ever run a tournament?
They have. They've done like a Saturday tournament here and there. And but it's not a normal thing. It's more like every now and then they'll just do this to kind of do it. So, if you want a kind of really big, I think there needs to be like a every Tuesday or something like that.
That's what I was going to say. Like a weekly free roll is really what they need to maybe build it up a bit.
Well, and if you do those free rolls, you actually just create. I think some of the poker rooms kind of lose money on the free rolls and they don't really make that much, but it creates another type of player because people aren't gonna come in and buy for $300 their first time a lot of times, but if they can come in, have a good time, and spend $25-$30 and realize that you can win sometimes, you're not just blowing it every single time, all of a sudden that becomes a cash game player. They might buy into a 1-2, or maybe they buy into a 1-3 short stack. Well, they become an actual 1-3 player. That's exactly how I started, was playing in these free rolls.
Right, I started buying in at 100 at these super deep 1-3 games, and that was very unprofitable.
Luckily, you kept coming back.
Yep, someone has to keep the game good.
Yeah, it's so very excited about that, and I'm hoping BCS continues to do well, and I'm hoping this poker room does well. I think BCS has been well run for the most part for a while, but I think the market can probably handle too.
Well, and also just the other room being open on days that you can go, you're gonna have a little bit of a bias.
Oh, I want as much available as possible. I mean, I hope there's 6 rooms going on there. I mean, the more variety, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
And you mentioned Empire. Empire actually has so this Sunday, May 2nd, they have a $150 buy-in, and it's what time? It starts at 2 o'clock, and late reg stops at 5:50, and it is it's a 20. Sorry, you start off with 20,000, and for $20 you get a $10,000 staff bonus, and it's unlimited add-on, unlimited rebuys. Sorry, and the add-on cost is $100 for 50,000 chips. And this is a 15,000 guaranteed tournament.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And I mean, what I think of Empire, and Empire has been the most polarizing poker room. I've met people who did not like it at all, and I know people who loved it. I come out on the side. I have never gone there and not had a good time. So I've really enjoyed that room. And I think if you, not comparing to like the tournament series like Prime and Champions, but if you want a regular tournament that goes on every single week, I think they have become like the tournament place to go to for like the standard every single week tournament.
Right, because they have multiple tournaments going on every week that, like you said, is just standard, and they seem to they handle giant tournaments very well there in that room with how many tables and dealers they have.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I've looked at their rake structure. It's probably one of the best rake structures I've ever seen for buy-ins of that size. You're super deep stacked, so you're getting a lot of play for your money. You can't say enough about it. I think when Lions shut down and everybody thought they were going to eventually open, they were the tournament go-to. Prime was the cash game place, and Lions was the tournament place. When Lions didn't reopen, it left a wide gap in there for like the normal tournament place. And I think Empire's been the only one that's really stepped up and filled that gap.
Oh, I completely agree. And I was just so surprised because I went one time during the free roll. I was so surprised how many people they can fit in that room, because at first glance it was pretty tight squeeze, but it was packed when I went.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it does not seem like a big room when you're walking in. Doesn't even feel that big when you're in there, really. I mean,
some might dare say it's not that big. I mean,
because it's in the strip center, and you walk in, you're like, this can't be that big. Walk in, not that big. But they do a good job of making, at least in the tournaments I have been to, it's run pretty well. I have never felt, I mean, I'm just sitting in a poker table, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's one of those every time I've gone there, I've had a good time. It's not the fanciest, it's not the nicest, but it's just been fun.
Well, and if you're a tournament player, that's the place to go. If you live in Houston and tournaments are your specialty or what you're interested in, that's probably going to be where you spend most of your time.
Yeah, for like the weekly daily tournaments and everything, that's kind of the place to go. Like I say, they don't compete with like the Prime Series and the Champion Series, but as a regular series or regular every week deal. Paramount has some pretty good ones too. I mean, for just cheap fun tournaments.
Paramount's a little bit cheaper though.
That's true. They're kind of going after different markets.
Right, but I guess if you're a tournament player, I definitely check out both places. But
yeah, so I'm really speaking of really great tournament places, I think the best tournament place in all of Texas right now has to be the Lodge. I mean, 2 tournaments a day. They have by far the biggest free roll. I mean, I don't know how the free roll is guaranteed 8,000 every Tuesday and starts killing it. I mean, they don't even get near 8,000. Every time I've been, it's like 13 or 14,000 that's in the prize pool. So they, to me, are by far for an every single day just regular tournament, and then they do special tournaments as well. So I got to give it to them as the tournament place to go to, and they have some big news coming up, don't they?
They have a ton of big news coming up. I guess we'll just start with, so Mike Matusow is coming to play on June 9th. It says through June 12th. And he'll be on the live stream as well and doing meetup games. Let's see. On the 12th, it starts at 8 p.m., the meetup game with Mike Matusow.
That's pretty awesome. I kind of wonder how this will go over, because Mike the Mouth Matusow is one of the more polarizing figures in poker, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, I wonder if there's going to be a lot of people who go because they like him and a lot of people because he annoys them. The vloggers that we've usually gone to their games where they do meetup games, they're not real polarizing. Like, nobody hates Brad Owen or Andrew Neeme. Mike Matusow, he's going to have a ton of fans and then a ton of people who, just don't like his aura.
Right? Such a strange character, too, but so cool to come from that time where it seemed like poker players had a personality when they were on TV.
Yeah. He's one of the originals where it really became big. And then he created his own podcast, like a dick, and every poker player has to have a podcast. I mean, good Lord.
Apparently. But, and also Wolfgang of Vloggers coming May 26th through 28th. And he'll be on the live stream as well. It says on the 26th. Just tons of vloggers and celebrities coming to the Lodge.
We both are big fans of the vloggers. I remember you introduced it to me, and it was Jamin's was the first one. And I was for 10 minutes, like, what in the hell am I watching? I was like, why are you watching this? And then I'm like, let's watch another one. And then I became the biggest fan of the vloggers. But I don't think we've ever watched Wolfgang. I have. Have you ever watched his?
I might have seen one or two, but not nearly like Jamin or Brad Owen.
Yeah, he does a really good podcast. He goes with Rampage a lot and does it with him. Plays games and everything. I think got a lot of advice. So he started out probably even better than some of the others. I think Brad Owens and Jamins were kind of tough at the beginning and just got way better as it went on. But his started out really good, and like I say, his is very interesting.
Right, and they also have, it says the Lodge is having the big one entry 20,000 guarantee, and this is coming May 29th, and it's going to be a $200 buy-in for 24K starting chips, and that's going to be massive as well. And I guess you have one re-entry, and they have 30-minute levels, so that's massive again.
That is gigantically massive. Like I said, that might be going off as one of the biggest poker rooms in Texas, really. Between their live stream, their constant vloggers coming in, they're open 24 hours, and they actually have games going on, I believe, 24 hours. Them and 52 Social are probably running neck and neck, obviously in different markets. They're towards Austin and Round Rock, 52 Socials in Houston. So they are a force in the poker industry.
How many tables do they normally have when you go during the week at the Lodge?
It's very dependent. Like a lot of times, if I go on that Tuesday when they're having that free roll, I can't count the tables, so they're just a ton. Yeah, I can't even guess. Maybe 14, 15 going on because they have the cash games going on as well, along with the tournaments. For cash games, I think it depends. I think they regularly have like 4 and 5, maybe 4 to 7 during busy hours, and maybe anywhere from 1 to 3 in non-busy hours.
Such a cool live stream too, though, and it also seems like they have. It seems like one of the highest stake streams as well, right?
I think so. Texas Card House plays pretty deep too, right?
I guess they're probably neck and neck.
Probably, yeah, they're pretty close. Man, their live stream is very, very fun to watch. Their live stream is very action oriented, and I think they're the only ones that I'm like, well, them and Texas Card House are running very close because Texas Card House to me kills everybody right now.
Oh, without a doubt, they seem to just be doing it, just the production level, the commentary. Sometimes you have Bert doing commentary as well, which is awesome. So.
Yeah, it's Texas Card House. I definitely think is the deal, but the Lodge is right there with them. They're like barely a half a step behind because theirs has done really good, and I hope Champions keeps up with theirs. I think they'll be kind of in that Lodge, like right half step behind.
Another interesting meetup game and live stream is going to be at Rounders Card House in San Antonio. Johnny Vibes is actually coming.
That is pretty awesome. Went and played with Johnny Vibes, and that was a really good time. A lot of these vloggers, they are very... I mean, granted, they came from just being regular poker players who picked up a camera, but they're very humble, very nice to be around. I met Johnny Vibes, Jamin, Mariano, and a lot of them, and they're really, really cool. But Johnny Vibes is really cool to play with.
But his meetup game will be a 5-5 May 10th, starting at 4 p.m. And then May 11th at 6 p.m., they're going to have a 2550 no limit live stream.
I'll let you know how I do.
I'm looking forward to it.
If this downswing continues, I'm gonna be struggling. I'm gonna be struggling to do 1-3. So it's yeah, that's gonna be pretty awesome. I tell you what, that's gonna be something I have to see the stream. I didn't even know Rounders had a live stream actually till just now.
Me neither. That was kind of what I was gonna ask you. Do you think this is the debut, or have we just been under a rock the whole time?
Probably under a rock. It seems like every place has a live stream. Not all of them are good, but it seems like just a ton have it.
It seems like either if you're a poker player, you have a vlog or a podcast, and if you're a room, you have a live stream.
Pretty much. Yeah, that sounds about right. So I don't think I've ever seen like one in Texas, like 2550 live stream though. I mean, like that's like Poker After Dark type numbers.
Right. I haven't seen anything that big before, at least recently. So
yeah, so that's gonna be That'd be really awesome to see. I love and I really respect his game. I think we talk about like who the best vloggers as far as players are, and some of them are just good at vlogging. They're not the best players. Johnny Vibes, I don't know if he's the best one with a vlog, but he's up there. It's very close.
He's up there as far as vlog quality, and up there definitely with poker skill.
Yeah, it's so definitely looking forward to that. So a lot of poker celebs coming to town, man. It's just Texas is the place to be.
I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Mike Matusow on the live stream, though. I like watching him play on the live stream. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. It'll be because you want someone entertaining. I mean, you don't want the person who's just going to sit there stoically and not do anything, not get involved in hands. Mike Matusow's not that guy.
Like, even when I'm playing live, when someone's like talking to someone else, or not talking, but like kind of like trash talking, needling kind of thing, and saying funny things, I love it at the table. It doesn't bother me even a little bit. I think it's hilarious watching. We had one player who was needling people all sorts of stuff, and then he was slow rolling as well. But I mean, it was just all kind of part of what he was doing, and I don't know. Some people seem like they were getting annoyed and bothered. I found it hilarious.
I think it depends on certain people have a personality where they can get away with a little bit more. Some people, because if you kind of doing it in fun and you realize that the person knows it, it's one thing. I think if you're trying to do it just to be a dick, it's not going to be a good outcome sometimes.
That was the route he was going, but I still found it hilarious.
But I mean, I do agree that I like tables that are kind of talking, having fun, having a good time. I mean, poker, like I say, when you're grinding, can be just boring as hell. And if you are at a boring table, good Lord, it is horrible. But I mean, when you're having a table that maybe a couple people are having some drinks, you're having some fun, you're maybe watching a game together or something like that, or you're at least talking about the hands, it's such a much more fun experience.
Right, and I was going to kind of circle back to, because you kind of let in with that you were on a downswing. So talk about, man, how great is that feeling when you finally start to kind of break that downswing? Because it can kind of wear on you mentally. Because I've been on some pretty horrendous downswings as well. And you get it in with aces, ace king. You just think, how am I going to lose this time? What is he possibly going to have to beat aces, beat my ace king?
Oh, I don't know, man. I was going through hell. Like I told you, we're maybe 4 losses away from this being an Overwatch podcast or something like that. I don't know. Talking about TV shows on Hulu or something. This podcast is going off the rails quick with the amount of downswing I was going on. But yeah, that feeling was so great. And man, it was really like I broke out of that new room. And that night, you know, I had one hand where I had pocket kings. I 3-bet before I got to the room. This was another room. Get called, and an ace comes out on the flop, and he leads directly into me. I'm known as a decently tight player. I just have to fold here. He's going to have an ace every time on this player. But you're just thinking like, oh, God, here it goes again. When you're on a downswing, it feels like everything is just horrible. So I was really happy to break out of this and to hopefully put an end to it.
Whenever you're on that downswing, how for running it twice versus running it once were you?
Oh, when I was on that downswing, I was for running it 17 times. They just run it until the deck goes. I don't know. I think it's kind of bipolar because at times I wanted to run it just like run the damn deck out because I was like sick of taking a loss. But then you get so down that you're like, if I'm chopping pots, I'm never coming back up. And then you're like, nope, just nope, running it once. Or I mean, so I only run it 2 or 3 times if the other person wants to. But yeah, what I would rather do kind of flips back and forth. There are times where I was so short stacked when I went all in that I said just once, because if I chop this pot, I don't want to sit here with, you know, $100. I mean, and just sit here. So I did do that. If I get short stacked enough, it is just one time. But man, it was
Right. 'Cause I know we're both kind of on different not trains of thought, but just how we do it is different. I've run it once every time. Doesn't matter because people say, oh, if he's on a draw, he'll run it twice. I run it once, no matter what. You can have the nuts. If I have the nuts, if I'm on a draw, it doesn't matter. Just run it once, move on.
well. This goes back to the table. I like the table to be fun and having a good time, and the math doesn't really matter one way or the other.
Right. It doesn't matter at all.
But okay, I think as poker players, we all believe in some way that we're better than the competition, or else we wouldn't be playing. Correct?
Right. That absolutely.
So to me, if I believe I'm the better player at the table, then I want to lessen the variance, because the variance should favor the players who aren't as good. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm the best player at every poker table, but you kind of have to have the ego to at least believe you are to be playing.
Right, but I'm kind of the opposite with that. I like running it once too. Well, I guess it doesn't really affect mentally to me. It doesn't affect me either way if I win or lose the hand. I want to win, but it doesn't bother me if I win or lose the hand. But I would also like them to know that, maybe not call as light because you're only going to get one shot at it, like with your flush draw or something.
That's true, and it might affect it that way. But that, and if you're at easy tables, like if you're a good player, it already sets the vibe off a little bit. Because some of the tables I go, I mean, they look at me like I'm the devil when I 3-bet, when I'm raising, when it's like a heavy limping table and everybody's being friendly, and I'm like, well, this is going up a little bit more. I want to win in the long run, but I still want losing players to feel like they get their money's worth. I want it to be a fun table, so I believe that profits me in the long run is keeping that table loose, keeping it having a good time. And like I say, do I want to win? Do I want to win all the chips at one point? Yeah, but if I can reduce the variance and still win, and not get killed by just that 8-outer hitting on the river, I'm okay with it.
Right. Well, I've gone the other route.
Yeah, we're on opposite ends of this.
Right. I've had players throw their cards at me. They've been so mad I keep raising their limps. So I had that last month, but
yeah, that's why Texas poker can be so profitable at times.
Right. You just let them know you're gonna hate this. I'm gonna be raising almost every hand, but
yeah, we were talking about those dynamics. How like I have a different dynamic because I'm playing against like a friendly crowd, and it's the same crowd every single time. So if they see you as a dick, it's just like, it's really, really bad. Whereas at least you're in Houston where you can go to different poker rooms where you don't have the same people being like, oh, yep, that dick's walking through the door.
Yeah, been there. But I guess, did you have any interesting hands? Because you mentioned that quads hand last week. Were you going to talk about that one this week?
Well, that was one that kind of broke out of the, it broke me out of the funk. So I'm actually at Paramount playing this hand, and it's a reverse button. Mm-hmm. So it's a PLO hand. I don't remember the exact starting hand. I do know I had Jack 8 in it, and the flop comes out Jack 8. I believe that was top 2 pair, because I was only really worried about a set. So I go ahead. There's no flush, no straight available, but obviously 9-10 is a straight draw, and I think there was a flush draw. So I'm like, well, let me go ahead and lead out on this and kind of make people pay for the draws and see what happens on the turn. I lead out. I get 2 callers. Okay, so I'm a little bit worried about the flush. No worries, because another 8 comes on the turn. So right. I'm like, okay, this is really, really good.
Can you tell us the board one more time, just to the turn?
It's Jack 8-8. There is a flush draw. I think it was a 3 on the was the other card.
Gotcha.
So I bet again. This time I bet like a pot-sized bet. Hoping for action. Get both calls. Both call pretty quickly too. one seems like a younger, tighter player. One seems like a younger player who's kind of newish to the game. So I'm like, okay, I'm still a little nervous. My PLO game is not the best. So I'm still worried about, like, you know, I think Pocket Jacks have me beat here, but I haven't heard from any. I think I would have heard from anything that I'm behind. Not behind anything anymore because the river's another 8. So I now have quad 8s. So at this point, this is where my PLO game maybe has gotten a little bit better. Is I used to just bet pot on everything, not thinking about it, and letting people off easy on the river. I go ahead and bet, I think, 125 into a pot of maybe 350, trying to get someone odds to call with like a bit smaller boat. The guy to my left must have been on a draw. He folds very quickly. The next guy ends up going all in, and I was like, I don't see how I can get any action here at this point. But he jams over the top. I obviously snap call, show my hand down. I'm not gonna slow roll him, and he sees it, and this happens to a lot of younger players and newer players. He thought that he had a boat because he had a king in his hand.
Oh.
Yeah, but even then, even before the 8 came, I obviously had it. Oh, crap. There was a king on that board. It was not a 3. So I had bottom 2 pair going into it on the turn.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was a hand that really, really stamped me out of the funk. But like PLOs, brutal game to learn. I mean, a lot of it's just reading your hand. And I tell you what, being at College Station, if you're going to play high, just sit out when you first see high-low. Don't even play it because people get murdered in that game, not be able to read their hands.
Oh, yeah, I would be one of them. I would get absolutely murdered in high-low. I don't even really know the rules of high-low. I'm the person you want in that high-low game.
Oh, well, so right at BCS, we can go play right after this.
So for the low price of 5.5.
High-low is really taking off here in Texas.
It seems that way. I guess that was the mixed game live stream that we saw, but where else are they playing high-low?
They're BCS. They're playing a lot in Austin. I see a ton of high-low games in Austin. The Lodge has a high-low tournament every single week. I think they might have 2. That we went over that shuffle. I think Shuffle 512 was hosting their high-low game over in Austin. I feel like that game is catching on so fast everywhere.
Well, that's good. To have other people, more games, more people playing is always a good thing.
Yeah, I love seeing all the different variants. I mean, definitely need to get better at them, but
yeah, it's always nice to see you starting at 5.5. But
well, I couldn't find a 10-20. I mean, God Almighty, what do you want out of me, man?
I guess I played a hand before I came to record this episode today. I was at 52 Social, and man, I had pocket kings cracked, pocket aces cracked. I flopped, I think 5 sets, maybe 4, 1, 2. It was just all sorts. It was playing pretty tight, and I seemed like I always kind of hit that threshold to where once I go from playing tight, and then all of a sudden I decided to mix it up with this hand. I had 5-3 of clubs, in the big blind and on button straddle. So, I called the $6.
What position are you? You're in the big blind?
I'm in the big blind, but it's a button straddle.
A button to straddle to 6. Okay.
Yes. The guy directly to my left had been playing very aggressive, very, bluffy, raising pre-flop, continue betting, triple barrel bluffing, just the whole thing. Very deep stacked as well. And he makes it 45. And then he gets 3 callers and comes back to me. So I was like, well, I guess I'll call. So, because I feel like he's definitely not folding if he hits a hand. 100%.
So, I mean, just super heavy implied odds, so.
Right, and I was a little bit over 500 deep. So I end up making the call, closing the action. The flop comes 3-3-10 rainbow. And I check to him. As advertised, he bets 100. Somebody calls the 100. Then I end up jamming all in for 450 over the top. He ends up folding. The other guy called, and he never showed his hand. But you can assume he never. Yeah, I know. Kind of strange. He never showed his hand. You know, you would think he would have showed the aces, kings, queens, jacks getting beat.
But it wasn't the original raiser who called.
Nope.
I mean, that's really weird because you would think a lot of the hands he would have had, he would actually 3-bet pre-flop that would have you beat. Unless he's just calling you with a 10?
I wouldn't think so. I think he probably had an overpair, but was trying to get in a hand with the guy, the original raiser. Because the original raiser would make some folds. If I did go all in on him one time previously and he folded. So he would get away from very big pots, but if he was the one leading the action, he would just pile money in there.
Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, that's my theory on like why I don't 4-bet that much is like aces and kings. I kind of want that, and I'd like to be disguised every now and then. And if I don't have 4-bet bluffs, then I really can't make 4 bets for value. So yeah, no, I can kind of see that.
Kind of weird though that the 5-3 suited is what ended up being my massive hand when I was playing so tight, only playing, aces, kings, and flopping 5 sets and only winning 2 and then ace king about 5 times. I only won once. It was a very long session as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just somehow how it goes sometimes. I mean, in the span of one session, in the long run, 3-5 suited, in the long run, your play was probably going to get killed. But in the short run of one session, anything can happen. I mean, I've seen people go crazy with hands. So, like I say, I'm glad 3-3. I mean, I was thinking how weird it was because the Lodge live stream just had a guy who called with deuce 3, a 3-bet for like $180 and got trips. And then an hour later, you're telling me like I called with 3-5 and just murdered this dude with for a complete double up. So I'm like, man, threes are hot coming.
Right. Well, I guess on that note, that concludes episode 3 of the Texas Poker Podcast. We will see you guys next week.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.